Hi, friends. I'm so excited to be here today. If you were listening last week, you heard the big announcement that Karen will no longer be on the podcast and she is still homeschooling. She's just changing a little bit of a direction. And we talked about in episode 99 just um, the heroine's journey, and that really resonated with Karen and finding out a different journey that she's on now. And so we're super excited for her. She's finishing up her second book. That's on pre-sale right now, so you'll want to check that out. So I'll probably have her back on when that book is out and talk about it. But send lots of love to Karen. She and I are still good friends. I want to make sure people know we didn't actually break up. I was going to call the episode The Breakup, but I don't want you to think we actually broke up our friendship. Just the podcast will look a little bit different now. It will just be Meggie Pooh, and Karen will no longer be on it. So super excited about that. Just kind of talking about a little bit of the change that's kind of be coming up. It'll still be called to homeschool, right? And I love the message, and I love supporting and helping people with that. And just kind of letting you guys know how I became a life coach and what that looked like. And I think I've talked about it before, as I went through different life experiences and I'd been to therapy and whatnot. It was awesome, and I had amazing therapists. And then I couldn't get past a certain point, and I found a life coach in the area, and he was amazing, and it rocked my world, and it really got me onto this path, seeing this different avenue of being able to start having this forward focus in my life. So in 2017, I had Master George and completely threw me for a loop and became very depressed, didn't know what to do, felt like I was stuck at home. And I thought, you know what would be a thing to do right now is to become a life coach. So I felt like I was just stuck home with him. All the courses were online, so it felt very doable. And I completed that program in 2018. So then I started coaching people, absolutely loved it, started Mama's Members. Then a pandemic hit. So that grew quite quickly. So that was a lot of fun. And then I kept wanting to share things from the life coach school. And I just loved the easy application from that school. And so I went on and got certified from there as well. So I am certified through a couple different life coach schools, but specifically the life coach school with Brooke Castillo is where a lot of my tools come from. So I wanted to share the most basic foundation that I've learned from that school called the model. And this is what Brooke Castillo, I love that she just the way that she talks about it, and her presence is so amazing, and this confidence, right? And I love that she's like, I didn't really create the model. She did put it in this format, but she took all these ideas from these amazing thinkers and these amazing coaches and put it in the most digestible way I've ever seen, right? That you can take any situation, any person, and they can use this model to start learning how to solve any problem. So this is the base of my program in Mama's Members is the model. And I've yet to find a problem that this model cannot solve. So if you are thinking, my problem is so big, I invite you to sign up for a free mini session. And you can do that on my site, coachmegthomas.com. If you're on Instagram, you can just click it in there and join from there, and a free mini session. And I can help put anything you have to the test and kind of help you see what it is creating. So all of our pain and all of our suffering and frustrations that we have is just kind of conditioned in us that this comes from other people, right? It comes from the world, it comes from our children, it comes from our spouse, it comes from our in-laws, our family, all those things that we think like, I feel frustrated because of all these people. I feel angry because of these people. And what I want to show you guys and what I teach in Mama's Members, it is our thinking that creates what we are feeling. So there are 5 parts of the model, and I want to take you through that today. So their acronym is CTFAR, and it stands for circumstance, thoughts, feelings, actions, results. So we're going to start at circumstance. And circumstance, They're just the facts. They're actually usually pretty boring, right? There's no opinion, there are no adjectives. The weather, whatever the temperature is wherever you are, we don't have snow today. That's nice. We had snow a couple days ago, but today we're about 65 degrees. So that would just be the fact that it's 65 degrees. If you homeschool or don't homeschool, you think about homeschooling, right? Like I homeschool is just a fact. The amount of children I have is just a fact. I have 7 children, fact, right? I am married, fact. But like when we tell a story, especially I think with like homeschoolers and we talk about stories and these beautiful stories, we add so much more to it, right? We add all these amazing adjectives. And I think I did this in a one of my newsletters the other day when I was talking about, let me tell you my morning. And I'm going to tell it from 2 points of view. And one of them was that, like, I can't sleep in and I'm wide awake and my baby got up with me. So now I don't even have my alone time in the morning and it's so annoying. Or my story could be like, I woke up at 5 a.m. and I love my alone time. My little guy woke up and he was with me. And I'm just cherishing these moments I have with him because I know he's not always going to want to just hang out with mom in this way. Right. So we have just the facts. So the facts that morning would have been I woke up at 5 a.m. and around 6 a.m., George came in with me. Right. And then we start telling the story about that circumstance. We add in those adjectives. Right. So then some things I've noticed with moms, some of their stories are my child is so hard. My children drive me crazy. Homeschool is so challenging. It is so difficult, right? So we have some stories we tell ourselves that are harmful, but we also have a lot of stories that are helpful, right? My kids are amazing. Homeschool is fun. I have a great support system. So we have all these options. And a lot of times we think that we don't have the options, but we do. Like our thought is completely optional. So that's our circumstance. Those are just the boring, dry facts. And then we have our thoughts about the circumstance. Now, the next line is our feelings. And it's interesting because we think so much that our feelings are just created from other people, right? It's all over everywhere. All these songs, you make me feel like a natural woman. You make me feel this. I feel this with you, and all these things. But our feelings are actually created by what we think. So, thinking things like, I have so much to do, my kids don't listen. It feels like those feelings of maybe being overwhelmed or frustration are coming from our kids' actions. But it's that thought like, I have so much to do. Why won't my kids ever listen to me? Right. So those feelings just are driven from the stories we tell ourselves. So I can say, I have 7 kids. That's just the facts. That's the circumstance. Then I can say, it is so fun. And my big kids are super helpful. That's a thought, right? Like saying my kids are fun or hard, like it's totally thought, helpful, not helpful. Saying that my kids are fun and helpful, I feel content. If I say that they're so hard, I probably feel overwhelmed. The amount of children I have did not change. So this is what happens a lot in coaching is because we believe so much that our circumstance is creating how we feel. Now here's the thing, I'm totally guilty of this too. And actually a fellow coach of mine and a good friend, she was saying, like, I just thought when I went through coach training and I've been coaching and I've been doing all these things that I just wouldn't feel any negative things, like I would just have it. But we're human. We all have this human experience, right? And so we continually need to be working at it to just train our brain like this is optional, this is optional, right? Um so we have, let's see. Oh yeah, sorry, I lost my notes. So I have a coach as well. And when I get stuck on something, my coach helps me to take in the big picture and shows me that my thoughts are creating what I feel, not the circumstance. So your kids going to bed or not going to bed cannot make you feel a certain way. Your kids doing their school or not doing their school cannot make you feel a certain way. It is your thoughts about those things that create how you feel. So let's get curious for a second and talk about what even is a feeling. And a feeling is just a vibration in your body, right? Like your feelings are not tangible, they are not hurting you or anything like that. So often when we feel overwhelmed or angry or irritated, it is uncomfortable in our body and we want to get away from that. But a discomfort or an uncomfortable feeling cannot hurt us. What is so powerful, dude, to learn how to do is to learn how to feel those feelings and not react to them. So learning how to be angry without how to feel anger without becoming angry, right? How to feel irritated. I'm saying these weird. How to feel irritation without becoming irritated. So it's a really powerful place to be, is to start learning how to feel your feelings, which drives us to the next part, which is action. And our actions or our inactions are driven from our feelings. Our actions are usually a lot more productive when driven from a positive feeling. For example, you can homeschool the action from either feeling maybe frustrated or excited, right? So, how different would those look? If you were feeling frustrated, your homeschool could look like rushing through the lesson. Maybe you're short with your kids, like, come on, I don't want to do this all day. Let's get with this. Maybe you're snap at your kids, like, get on task. Let's just do this. Let's finish this up. We don't need to take all day. But if you're feeling excited, maybe that could look like you're following the mood of the room. You stay on a lesson longer or shorten if needed. Play games instead of forcing a subject, having more fun. So, all of our actions are driven by our feelings, which are created by our thoughts, which leads us to the last part, which is result. And our results are just created by our thoughts. So, there are three ways it can be created, right? Either it is an exact match. So, if you have the thought, I don't know what I'm doing, probably feel overwhelmed. And the action is probably inaction, that you're not doing anything. You don't research anything. You don't look anything up. So you still don't know what you're doing. It's an exact match. Maybe it is a reflection of yourself. So this would be something along the lines of, my children should be more helpful, which probably causes frustration. And when you're feeling frustrated, maybe there's snippiness. Maybe there's inaction where you don't do anything because you're feeling frustrated. And then the reflection is, I should be more helpful, right? And then the last one is just finding more evidence. So if you have a thought like, my children are so messy, maybe you're feeling annoyed, and then maybe your action is looking for all their messes. And so then your result is, I continue to find more evidence that my children are messy. So most of us spend a lot of time in trying to change the circumstance, like trying to change other people, trying to change the whole entire world. Guess what? It's super exhausting and it doesn't even work. The only thing we really have control over is how, like us, right? The story we tell ourselves about the circumstance, which will create how we feel and create the action that we take from that place. Um, I thought just because I have so much, seven children, that I just had to feel overwhelmed, right? Like my circumstances, just I have seven children, and I've had this story for so long. Like seven children is a lot. That is a lot, right? And then you can even have people agree with you, like, you're right, seven children is a lot. But it was funny. I was with some homeschool friends the other day, and these other moms had nine and 10 children. So, like, seven's a walk in the park. Seven is nothing, right? But I had this story of like, I just feel it's so hard having seven children and I'm overwhelmed and I always have so much to do, right? So as I changed my thought from I have so much to do to I have more than enough time to get things done, as I feel like, as I tell myself this story, I have enough time to get things done, I started feeling confident. I started taking the action of tracking things in my planner. And all of a sudden, I could see, wow, I actually have a ton of time. I started getting really picky with my time. Like, I'm not going to waste my time to watch a sports event with my family. And maybe that's not a waste of time to you, but I'm like, I could be reading a book, I could be studying, I could be going to bed, I could get all these things done, right? So I started to create enough time to get the things done that I wanted to do just by changing my thought. Now, the interesting thing as we learn this, we want, like, we're so quick, we want to just change it. Like, okay, I've been telling myself that I have so much to do, and I'm just going to hurry and try to tell myself I don't have a lot to do. Um, it doesn't really work that way. Like sometimes it does, right? But usually it's a process. So we don't need to be in a hurry to change the thought. A great place to start is just to become aware of the thought, right? Because a lot of times we're aware of the feeling of like, oh, I just feel overwhelmed all the time. But starting to get curious, like, why do I feel overwhelmed? What is the story I'm telling myself that's creating overwhelm? And then why am I choosing this thought? Because it is a choice what we are thinking, right? You can do this through journaling with a coach. if you do it through journaling or with a coach, either like when you just kind of brain dump, call it a thought download, right? Like just get everything out of your head and then you can start looking at it like, oh, I feel overwhelmed because I tell myself all the time, I don't have enough time to do these things. So when you take it slower and look at like, what are the thoughts I'm telling myself? What are the things I'm doing? It will actually help you to make the change in your thoughts and not just put a band-aid on it. Like, oh, I shouldn't think this. Like that creates a whole new problem. But like, how interesting that I think this. So that is the model of how to solve any problem, right? You have your circumstance, which is just neutral and just the facts. And then you have your thoughts about that circumstance, which creates how we feel, which drive our action, which has ends with our result. This is what I do in Mama's Members is help people go through this model, help them to become aware of their thoughts and help them change them if so needed. If you are feeling stuck in your thoughts or you're feeling angry or upset or overwhelmed or any of these things and you're not liking it, then I invite you to sign up for a free session and I would be happy to walk you through it. All right, my wonderful, wonderful friends, I will see you next week.